The good news is I'm alive. The bad news is I shouldn't be, based on a lot of things, really. I mean, I'm not that good a person in general, so. If like someone's time is up and they're nearby and they're a better person than me, the Grim Reaper's for sure beelining straight for this face. Oh well.
If I cut off your arms and cut off your legs, will you still love me?
So I was extremely sick. I was working on this car and I came down with something. I'm not sure what it was yet. We're between ideas on what it could have been. Doesn't matter. I'm better now. It's all that matters. And as such, I'm going to start finishing up the wiring on the 240 project. Today we're going underneath the dash, which sucks, and then in behind the dash in some areas, and then we're going to move on to wiring relays in, so on and so forth. I keep saying so on and so forth like a fucking kindergarten middle school teacher. Kindergarten middle school teacher? That doesn't even make sense! Underneath here we got a couple of power leads that, I'll be honest, shrink wrapped and nice, looks good, cool. But these are just cut off of this plug. So I'm gonna have to pull the factory harness manual. I'm gonna have to pull the factory wiring harness and the diagram for the ignition switch on the S13 to figure out where these pinouts need to go and what they belong to, and go from there. That's step one. Step two is gonna be rewiring. If I can hold the rewiring all this. So that'll be good. That's fun. That's a good time. It's a good day to be alive. Oh God. Hey guys, just a little side note. If you're gonna be looking up factory manuals and wiring and you Google search stuff, if it looks like this, okay, if this is what you see, don't think that it's accurate, okay? Some kid in his basement drew this stuff with crayons. That's a real picture that I found. Somebody followed that and was like, oh, that's probably fine. Just get a Helms manual or go to a forum that has like a storied history and archives of proper information. But don't, come on. I was pretty excited because I saw heat shrink for the first time and realized that it was just doing that. I bet this one is for sure soldered. Oh God. No, it wasn't. So the BP harness and a lot of, gauges or the boost controller that I'll be using, they all require ignition key on. So when the key is on, that is a signal for relays to turn on or for, gauges to turn on, so on and so forth. So tapping into an ignition key on wire is pretty simple and straightforward. Let me just get them. The blue wire on this is your ignition key on. You can see before it wasn't soldered or anything like that, which is actually good. I hate solder when it comes to this stuff. But there is a pretty easy way to tap into this wire with your own ignition key on wire. All you got to do is you got to double penetrate one side of this butt connector with an extension like this. So you DP one side, and then the other side goes in the other side of the butt connector, and you crimp it really, really, really tight, and then you have a lead that comes off of that is nice and secure with a butt connector, not solder that can break and stuff. Anyone that prefers solder over butt connectors, I get that, but with Apache helicopters flying around the air with butt connectors, I'm comfortable with my butt connectors. Went ahead and I added an extension wire to both sides, so I have two ignition switched outputs if I need them. Put the butt connector in there, crimp it down, use a heat gun to melt the butt connectors down, and then slide some heat shrink over the top of that, and use your heat gun again to get it all solid. Sick. Just like that, you have two dangly McDangle-doos that are ready to be spliced into wherever you need ignition switched. So like I said, gauges, boost controller, whatever. For my case, one of these is going to be for ECU ignition on, and the other will go to a separate board that'll just be a trigger wire for a couple different relays, but easy enough, easy peasy. Just for good measure, don't do that! Do not do this! Please. Thank you. So now we have the beginning of the unterminated wires from the BP harness, one of which is a pink and black wire that says, if you can read it, switched ignition. So, same deal as before. You take this switched ignition, you butt it up with the switched ignition lead that we made, heat shrink, crimp, heat shrink, you know the right order, and that'll be that. Crimped, heat applied to shrink the butt connector, another layer of heat shrink on top, and there you go. We're good. Good as gold. I didn't want to bore you with the hooking the tack wire up, but this car had been swapped with an SR20 at some point, I'm guessing. But underneath the dash, I was able to find the dash plug, pull that thing out, find the connector for the dash that relates to tachometer, hook your tack wire to your tack wire, rock and roll. Now, after that, we move on to cooling fan, which is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So this is a relay that we got with the vehicle. There's a few of these 40 amp relays. I'm hoping that a 40 amp relay is going to do the job. If not, it'll just melt down, catch on fire, probably burn the car to the ground, which, you know. So finding a home for this relay, I'm going to mount it to this bolt up here. So it'll sit, if I can turn this around, it'll sit just like this. And the wires, I'll have them loomed and they'll feed through the fender well. And I can feed main power to and from the relay. And then from the relay, I can send power to the fan, which is what we want. All right, this is the first time I've had the car up in the air, and the underbody is actually really clean. Somebody jacked on the frame rail and obviously put a dent in there, but it's common on these cars. First thing I'm gonna have to do is reconnect these to power. There's a relay here. I believe these need to go to power. And then one thing, hold on, let me turn the camera around. Coming straight down, we have oil drain into the pan. That's cool. What's not cool is the fact that it's ran so tight on the frame rail, like I can't. So that's probably why this fitting is leaking like crazy, because this hose is about to get yanked straight out of the fucking bottom of this turbo. And I don't even like cussing on video. That's how salty I am. Come on! Come on! One thing! Just one thing right! I think we all get to a point where we just can't even, and I can't even for the rest of the night. I'm gonna sign off. I got the ignition wired up for the ECU. I got the tack wired up. I got some wires tucked. I got some things pulled out of the dash that didn't need to be there. And now I'm gonna go take a nap, wake up tomorrow, and so bad. But first, look at my cracked dash that's not cracked anymore, because I give gross hands, but I put a dash cap on and it looks like new. Woo! Now I'm going to bed. I'm done with that. That was my only exciting part of the day. So, good night, America.
In my mind saying it's gonna be alright, 'cause the play